That's the edge of hold on, hold on.
should be a drop somewhere around here. Let's see. Supplies. That's good. More orders. Huh.
What's up?
Drops will be assigned to specific teams and tracked individually to deal with recent concerns.
It's boss talk for we're watching you because someone had their hand in the cookie jar.
According to the old maps, that path leads to the Bastion, their military stronghold. This must be the Bastion.
The large military was never the Enclave's priority. They did not aspire to conquest. Instead, they focused on defense. Their core interest was protecting not only their civilians, but their cutting-edge innovations.
Can't stretch the scry any further. Can't stretch. I'm pulling you. Brace for it.
Soldiers could see for leagues from vigilant falls. The patrollers would easily spot incoming attacks.
end of the life. Hold on, hold on. Far jump, even for you.
Too bad I don't have wings.
Feathers wouldn't suit your face. Lane, any idea what that pillar is?
I did find a reference to the Trial of Fires, a rite of passage for new Bastion Swarm before they could cross over to their new life.
Crossing over? Trial of Fires? Unsubtle. Brynn, what happens if you make it hot? Nice work.
Pretty involved. Still, You'll have no trouble when it's your turn to head back out in the field.
Be sure to scour the bastion. Few sights are as impressive as a Highland ice claw mid-flight on a clear day. The way the sun reflects off its wings, majestic.
This must be where the military stored supplies and weapons before the search. Matters of high security were discussed inside.
A frost strand. Happy to weave that into your mantle.
Must be the garrison. Enclave soldiers would have slept here during training. Private chambers, perhaps belonging to the Bastion's commander.
A letter to the commander from Khan Stanield. He signed his title beneath. The Eye. Times have necessitated an information blackout. The cause of the casualties must be purged from even the Bastion's most secure records. Furthermore, military personnel are to be separated from civilians, unless facilitating the evacuation from Denevron. If word of the problem's true severity spreads across the panic will be uncontrollable. It is imperative that Asylum succeeds.
Paints a stark picture.
Asylum? What could that be?
Scour the rest of the keep and find out.
Found the key swatch. There's a note with it. It says, Commander, it's ready. Use the harness to execute Asylum.
Another key swatch. Wonder if it will lead us to whatever the harness is.
Only one way to find out.
The key swatch is exciting, but it feels like there is more to discover about Asylum here in the Bastion.
Agreed. I'll keep looking. Should be a drop somewhere around here. Another notice. Drops must be completed and all runners to safety before the next predicted flood.
This confirms they have a way to predict the floods, and some way to stay safe.
But... Stay focused on our runners for now. That's all of them.
3 supply drops. Not a lot of answers.
I believe I can help with that.
Some sort of access beneath the keep.
Looks like a war room.
It looks like the recorded minutes of the meetings that took place here. The last one is dated roughly 26 years ago.
What was it about?
A lot of information was torn off. Casualties got too high due to something they blotted over with ink. And the military commander should execute a defensive measure called Asylum.
military workshop for enchanters.
The Enclave never used magic to expand its borders, but had to defend itself.
Against nations that thought otherwise.
Exactly.
Research notes from about 40 years ago, probably from an enchanter that worked here. Observing arc degradation. Looks like there was an expected and normal amount of degradation observed in the arcs following the surge. But once the arcs start killing civilians, it says this is a systemic failure. What could that mean?
It means the arcs weren't sent to attack us as a means of defense.
They've lost control over them.
A final note scrawled on the cover page. The Archons will be no use in Asylum's execution.
All these documents you've collected, I might be able to piece together what Asylum is if you find out where that Keyswatch leads.
That's my next move, then.
The sledgeworm's no pushover. If you can remove its frills, it won't be able to fling the entire world at you as easily. After the surge, no one was even sure that anyone inside the Veil survived. Yet, clearly they've been here in dire straits this entire time. Why didn't they lower the Veil to seek help? Surely a few broken arcs isn't what stopped them.
These weavers had to make choices for their own survival since the surge. And they succeeded. Whatever their reasons are for keeping the Veil active, we shouldn't judge them too harshly for it.
I agree completely. Still... Never mind. It's silly.
Can't help but wonder what life might have been like if they'd lowered the Veil.
Not just for them, but for all of us. No matter who you were or where you came from, the Enclave could be your home. After the Surge, Weavers didn't just lose the Enclave. We were outcasts in every nation. Not that I need to tell you that. You sacrificed a lot to become a Weaver. The Veil served as a constant reminder that magic was the source of all the world's problems. A convenient scapegoat for every failed leader. And Weavers were an acceptable casualty. And the Hearthsiders just left it there.
So we need to find out why.
"33, 34, 35, 36. Gods, we'll need more than that.
Everything all right?
Oh, hey. Yeah, I just can't shake this feeling that we're not prepared.
Prepared for what?
I don't know. Maybe the masked figure stalking you, or the hostile archons at every turn, or... Sorry, I'm doing it again. This isn't on you.
It's all good. But maybe you should take a break. After all, we can't plan for everything.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's what we always said at sea.
You've mentioned the relief efforts before.
Earned my sea legs at 16, yes.
Wow. Isn't 16 pretty young for relief work?
I wanted to go at 15, but it took a year to convince my parents.
I can hardly believe they let you.
After months of begging, I wore them down. I loved life on the water. The rhythm of running a ship. The sun on your face during the day. The waves rocking you to sleep at night. And we were helping people. I think I miss the smell of the ocean the most.
I'm more of a hiker myself. The smell of pine trees brings me home in an instant.
Our surroundings must make you think of Calmhaven a lot then.
For sure. We're missing a mountain or two, though.
There are a few mountains here.
No. Real mountains.
My seafaring days feel pretty far behind me now. It's been a few years since I left to join Aurea.
Why did you stop?
Always mouths to feed. Critical supply shortages. Not just materials, but medicine. It felt like I could never do enough. So I walked away. I still feel guilty, though.
You probably helped more people in those years than many do in a lifetime. Needing to step away from the work doesn't erase all the good you did. There's nothing to feel guilty about.
I guess you're right. I just wish there was a way to turn off the little voice in my head telling me I should have done more.
Well, I'm happy to have a stern word with it anytime you like.
Thanks. I'd better get back to work, but this talk helped. Hey, Brynn. Sorry I got carried away with our errands.
It's okay, Kaz. What was going on with that, though? Are you alright?
Yeah. Sometimes there's so much to do, it's hard to keep my head on straight.
Maybe you should take a day to relax. Our ongoing disaster isn't going anywhere.
I don't know how anyone relaxes in here. What about you?
Me?
Yeah. What do you do to relax?
I've always just turned to writing, or drawing to process my feelings.
Oh. What do you write about?
Everything. What I see on expeditions, our band's discoveries, conversations like this.
You write about our conversations. Are they all that important?
Sure. Why not? It just helps to get it all down on the page.
That actually sounds nice.
When all else fails, a nap always helps too.
For Ashar, maybe. As a Kashar, I don't need as much sleep as the rest of you.
Sure. But you need some kind of break from time to time, Kasmin.
I'll think about it.
Do you read a lot of Skald's Tales, Kaz?
I do, as a matter of fact. when I can find a transcription. But I'll read just about anything I can get my hands on.
Any favorite storytellers?
Eloisa Farthing. She's a local writer back home. Actually, a lot of her stories are set in Dunbrennig. That's what I like about them. No matter where I am in the world, I can curl up with passages describing our rainy summers or stormy winters. And it's like I'm home.
That's beautiful. Though the weather in Dunbrennig sounds terrible.
It is. What about you? Are you much of a reader?
Can't say I am. I'd rather live the adventures myself than read about them.
I suppose that makes sense. Still, if you ever want to try getting into it, Sola, Lane, and I have something of an informal book club on the go. We can give you recommendations.
Good to know. I'm surprised Dom isn't involved in that too.
He was, but his invitation was rescinded. The three of us would like to maintain a soothing mood during our meetups. He got too excited and spilled red wine on the pages of our first read, so...
Ah. I see.
Yes, and if the R is with the numbers of false increment that just indicates spaces... Ah!
Got it?
Yes. I'll translate all that we have and we can discuss it with Casmin.
Good stuff, Lane. We need all the information we can get.
And valuable insight into post-surge society that developed here.
The architecture in Nevern is simply magnificent.
Denevran is a treasure trove for any lawkeeper. The history this place contains. It's almost overwhelming, or it would be for a lesser academic.
But not for you.
No. Certainly I can pass through decades of lost tomes and solve the greatest mystery of our time. What happened to the Enclave? Why wouldn't I succeed where other researchers who have spent far longer immersed in Weaver culture have failed?
Well, you've certainly got something they don't.
I do?
Me? Kidding. You've got access to the Enclave.
That's exactly it, isn't it? It's the opportunity of a lifetime. What if I don't make the most of it?
All you can do is try. It's all any of us can do.
I suppose you're right. After seeing the Spire, I can't help but wonder how effective the Enclave's governance was. Did their system work? Was it better than what we have across the Maida? Many questions present themselves.
Do any answers present themselves?
Well, we have the raw facts. If I recall correctly, their government was run by a council that varied in size through the years. At the top of the pecking order were the Eye, the Spindle, and the Axle. All representatives voted in by the council members, or various guilds. The documentation currently available to me is rather lacking in detail, though. The succession processes, for example, are unclear.
How's it compared to what you have at home?
Undoubtedly more functional, I'll give it that. The Udean Federation is, to put it plainly, a mess. To the point where our unofficial national dish is a specially prepared meringue that lasts approximately 10 seconds before collapsing.
You all right?
I know we're talking politics, but truth be told, all I can think about now is food.
Kaz might have gathered some herbs. You could try sweet-talking her into mixing something up.
In that case, I think I'll go bother her for a late breakfast. You can't do archival work on an empty stomach, after all.
Sev mentioned something about Udea using aerialists, like Taza.
That's true, yes. It was well before my time, but they are not well regarded in our history.
What happened to them?
You're aware Udea had legendary trade fleets that made it the richest federation in the Maida.
Yes, but not since the... Oh.
It turns out when you rely on magic to keep your harbors safe and magic itself breaks in something like the Surge, there's a price to be paid.
Lane, any thoughts on why the mayor of Poldervale kept a key swatch to Denevron in his home?
Not personally, but I do know what the Poldervale Watch suspected about it.
Really? How?
At the back of the logbook, those on watch would leave small notes for whoever was taking over the next shift. Most of it appears to be idle gossip, but apparently popular belief was that the mayor had a mistress on the side.
Ah, a wife in Poldervale and a mistress in Denevron.
Instantaneous travel would be necessary to not get caught.
Goodness. Small towns are the same everywhere, aren't they?
What is there to do in them but talk?
Going to look great. It's going to look great. Well, Codebreakers, how are we feeling?
Satisfied. We have enjoyed reasonable success.
That's Lane's way of saying they crushed it.
Notes being passed between a brother and sister, quite candid, and dissatisfied. In particular with their boss, who they refer to as the Grumple.
The Grumple?
A Renlund myth, where ill-behaved children would be gathered up in a sack and tossed into the river to drown at the end of the year.
Bye.
The Grumple, yes. Renlund fables prominently featured drowning as a punishment for children. The myth has fallen out of favor in recent decades, though. Ren society is less forgiving of flights of fancy.
The Grumple. Really?
Really.
Moving swiftly on. What else did the drop say?
Remember that ominous note about tracking individually in specific teams?
From the context provided by our hauler, we now know a significant number of Hearthsiders survived the surge.
But only just surviving. They relied on the runner-hauler teams. But supplies consistently went missing. There is also a sense that the Enclave was getting increasingly dangerous for the scouts.
The floods, of course.
With supplies running thin, the supply teams were falling under suspicion of stealing.
This pair responded with the entirely reasonable, if exhausting, plan of overperforming.
I've done that job, Lane. Sometimes you just need to prove the ass in charge wrong.
Indeed. They collected a cache of rare items they were planning to turn in when they felt its size and value would erase any suspicion.
Do we know if they turned it in?
No, but we know what it was. Or is.
And that's where I come in.
Everything all right?
Yeah. There's just so much. Oh, and a letter. Encoded like the others.
Can't wait to work it out.
So, the letter. I'm prepared for bad news.
How did you know?
They were collecting supplies for other survivors. We know someone is out there. The supplies never made it to them. That, and the tear stains.
Is that what that was? Yes, well, there's a lot to cover. We have the cache itself and our scrounging siblings.
We should at least give you the high-level details on both. Where do you want to start?
Talk to me about the supplies.
They did astonishing work. If I weren't sure they're both gone, I'd hire them.
Indeed, a robust collection, including several enchanted objects we barely recognize.
They had a keen eye for things that could decay and took care to preserve them.
You two sound giddy.
If there's one thing Lane and I are passionate about, it's preservation of rare objects.
Were there any hints of more of these?
As far as we can tell, this was it. Their motherlode.
It's impressive one runner could gather this much, frankly.
Have you been working your magic, Casmin?
Obviously. Thank you for bringing everything back so carefully.
Anything of note?
Yes, but let's save that until we've done the other questions.
Mysterious. That's enough about the cache.
Sure.
What did the final note say?
Yes, right. It was a farewell. One sibling disappeared. The runner.
I thought the runner of the pair was the one we found.
So did we. But this last message was a farewell to his sister. Apparently the Grumpole...
Really?
I know. But apparently their boss had been ordered to stop wasting resources on the search.
And so our hauler left this farewell, hoping his sister might find it on the off chance she was alive.
He was going to remove all their other messages so their plan wouldn't be found out. We postulate he was on his way to do that when...
When the flood caught him.
These people, however many are left, they've really been through it. They might really need our help. They're still organized and have a command structure, but it sounds dysfunctional.
I'm not going to say the name, but do we have any sense of who was giving their orders?
The Enclave's leader was called the Eye, a first of firsts, after a fashion. Elected from the masters of each craft, the High Smith, High Enchanter, and so on. Unfortunately, we don't have any details about their direct superior. I will spare you the name.
Did we confirm they weren't actually stealing from the Enclave?
The letter seems genuine. I think their plan was to bring in a big haul.
It says a lot about the Hearthsiders that our siblings thought this would clear any suspicion.
How so?
The cloud of suspicion tells us they were in dire times, tightening the screws on their own people.
But bring in a big load and we trust you. Doesn't that sound a little like a bribe?
So you think our runners were dirty?
No. I think the system's dirty, and they're just stuck working through it.
Is there anything we could do, do you think?
Sadly, no. But their story will live on in our chronicle.
Let's move on to something else.
Of course.
So, where do we go from here?
Good news. We compared notes with Dam. We found parts that will let us complete Lucia's thimble, from those schematics you decoded.
It has been a busy time. Solar will handle the assembly, of course.
I suppose the only other thing to say is... good job, Brynn.
Indeed. We have made progress in unraveling the shape of what the post-Surge society looks like in the Enclave. Further, these documents are invaluable to the historical record.
And maybe you put a couple souls to rest. Not to be sentimental.
We will never replace it all. How could I have been so careless?
expected abnormal amount of degradation in the aftermath of the surge.
Looking over the notes from the Bastion.
Dated almost 40 years ago, contemporaneous with the surge. The enchanter who created the notes was quite junior. Most people who had actually designed arcs had died in the surge, it seems.
The best we have is a novice's musings?
The observations appear accurate, and the enchanter was careful not to draw any ill-founded conclusions. But good methodology cannot replace experience. It makes sense now that the Enclave lost control of their own constructs.
The letters were untouched, but the Eye blotted out a lot of information from other documents I collected in the Bastion. Do you think the Enclave's leader was trying to hide the Ark hostility from his own people?
I'm not sure how you could hide the fact that constructs taller than a building have gone on a rampage. Still, in times of crisis, paranoid governments have tried to bury all manner of scandals. And the Enclave certainly seems paranoid.
The Ark we followed through the Veil wasn't hostile. Any new ideas on what makes it different?
One possibility is that, since we know the Ark was being smuggled out of the Enclave, its deactivation might have insulated it from the surge. Another option, according to her notes, Lucia tinkered with its governing schema. That may also have had an impact. We do know our little friend is quite resilient to magic in general. That certainly could have contributed.
If we could help the Hearthsiders get on their feet, do you think they could regain control of the Arks?
Anyone who knew anything about the Ark's core design is long dead. A particularly innovative enchanter might have some luck with minor malfunctions, but the Arks aren't simply shut down or stumbling blindly in fields they once farmed. They've become violent, presumably even against their creators, and that won't be solved by something as simple as reapplying their grease.
There's no hope of regaining control.
With enough dedication, time, and research, anything is possible, but it won't be easy. Don't stay your blade just yet.
I guess there's still a lot of Arks smashing in my future.
For the time being, at least. Unfortunate.
Yeah. If we can't use them to farm, they make great scrap.
Relegating the Enclave's premier innovation to scavenged parts isn't a victory we should be celebrating.
It's something.
A shame to lose such prodigious runners. They were really very good.
The Hearthsiders have had it harder than any of us expected.
Indeed. We shan't let their efforts go to waste. Lucia's thimble is within our reach thanks to them. I am going to be poring through Lucia's notes for years.
Fascinating stuff.
Perhaps not to everyone, but she was a brilliant enchanter. It's not often I read a marginal comment accompanied with a lewd doodle and go, "Flames, that's brilliant."
Our supply runners might be why there are so many crates gathered around the city.
Why do they reappear, though?
Dom and I have a theory. The arcs might still be partially functioning.
So, when they're not trying to kill me, they tidy up the place?
Like I said, a theory. But that was a big part of what they were built to do.
Where am I? Underground.
That barrier almost looks like the Veil.
It must be the one Lucia wrote about in her notes.
And the panel looks like our scry. Anyone know what it is?
No idea.
Similar design to a scry, but it looks like it's a permanent installation. Like it interfaces with the room. Could this be the harness?
Must be. It seems like Asylum involved sealing away whatever's beyond this barrier.
With this discovery and everything else you found, I should be able to piece together what Asylum actually was.
I know we need to discuss the barrier and its potential ties to the flood. But want to give me a rundown of the research first?
Of course. Years after the surge, there was an inexplicable spike in casualties.
You don't think it's due to the Arcs going hostile?
Well, that may be part of it, but we can't be certain due to the information blackout. All we know is that it nearly wiped the Hearthsiders out. What seems to have saved them was Asylum's execution. A defensive measure that involved sealing the underground behind a magical barrier.
Almost like the Veil.
Exactly like the Veil.
It's got to be where the Hearthsiders went, right? Remember, the letter mentioned they were evacuated from the city.
To an undisclosed location. We have no real confirmation that they are down there.
But it would make sense, wouldn't it? After all, asylum can mean shelter or safekeeping.
It can also mean prison. I know everyone wants an easy answer to where they went, but something just doesn't add up. You would think there would be at least one document linking Asylum to the evacuation of the city, and there simply isn't.
Khan Stanild gave the orders to execute Asylum. Do we know anything else about him?
Judging from the series of letters between him and the commander, it would seem that, at the time, he was recently elected. And judging from the frequency with which he followed up on the commander's progress with Asylum, this defensive measure was a key pillar in his political platform. He seemed to grow increasingly concerned with his popularity among civilians in the most recent letters.
Ugh, isn't that kind of slimy?
Leveraging a security crisis to consolidate political influence? Yes, it's incredibly slimy and effective.
And the commander? Do we know what happened to him?
It would appear that Asylum was executed successfully, so perhaps he is still alive. But until we find the Hearthsiders, we can't know for sure.
You said the casualties spiked long after the surge. Can you elaborate on what might have caused this?
This is truly the thousand-fairer question. With the information blackout, I can't find a concrete link to the cause across hundreds of pages. Arc hostility could certainly be a factor. Clearly, numerous Weavers were killed by their own defenses. The recorded minutes from other meetings in the war room illustrate a long period of geological instability following the surge as well. Aftershocks and earthquakes and... well, not to mention the outskirts grew more dangerous each year as the creatures were allowed to breed unculled. But these threats seemed to plateau in the early years after the surge. There is no mention of the spike that resurfaced and prompted Asylum.
That's so strange.
It is.
So the Enclave didn't just hide information from the rest of the Maida, but their own people as well.
Judging from the secrecy and a few of the letters you found, I would guess that high-level officials were paranoid. Clearly, not everyone was in favor of this measure, and some might have wished to thwart it.
People like Lucia.
And a dissenting group known as the Verdant Minds that she had ties to. Though it's entirely unclear what those ties were.
So, back to the barrier. Think it's the one Lucia was trying to take down?
Yes, the very same. She was right, too. It's causing the miasma floods. The raw magic that off-gasses from the veil is what causes the tangles to cluster at its base. In speaking with Darm, we theorized that this second barrier could potentially be doing the same thing. Except in a more pressurized environment, like, say, within a barrier of kinetic magic.
We don't get small pockets of raw magic like tangles. We get floods of it.
Precisely.
So we need to remove Asylum's barrier to stop the flood. Now we really need to talk to the others.
Agreed.
All right, let's go over everything we know so far.
We know that, for a time after the surge, civilians continued to live in Denevron until they were forced to evacuate the city. We're still not sure the cause.
Wherever the Hearthsiders went, they're still actively sending scouting groups to scavenge for supplies. From the uniform, the creeper who was watching Brynn sleep belongs to one of these groups.
We also know that a defensive procedure codenamed Asylum sealed access to the Enclave underground. This was done using a barrier almost exactly like the Veil.
Lucia, an ex-high enchantress, opposed Asylum and began working on ways to sabotage it.
Her research forecasted that the barrier would cause the Enclave to flood with miasma. The very same flood that seems to have killed Lucia before she was able to finish her thimble.
But we have her design. It could disrupt Asylum's barrier.
So Lucia's thimble is the key to our survival.
It's less a key and more like a magical battering ram.
Whatever works.
What is it, Lane?
It's just, I've pored over all the documents we've compiled, and a concrete link between the evacuation plan and the underground is nowhere to be found. I can't shake the feeling we're missing something.
The Enclave destroyed a lot of information from their documents. Could that be why you can't find a link between Asylum and the evacuation?
I considered that. The Enclave may have hidden their location from Lucia.
Being a weaver isn't about being certain all the time. It's about taking calculated risks to carve a path forward. And regardless of the Hearthsider's location, disrupting the barrier is the only option to stop the flood.
You're right. I just hope that if we did miss something, it doesn't come back to bite us.
Even if it does, we will handle it.
That settles it. Brynn, it's time to use the thimble.
After last time? Absolutely not.
Thank you for your help with that, Brynn. You've a deft hand for flame magic. You can wear Sev's apprentice hat for one day. Also, Lucia knew what she was doing. This thimble was clearly designed to pair seamlessly with Enclave constructions.
Must be her experience as a high enchantress at work.
Based on Lucia's notes and what we discovered at the Bastion, this was custom designed to disrupt Asylum's barrier.
If it can stop the flood, we need to use it soon.
Agreed. We don't know how much time we have left.
Warm blankets, firewood, matches. Barely enough to last a fortnight.